In a prestigious corporate boardroom, the tension in the air is palpable. The clock ticks toward an uncertain future for a company on the brink of bankruptcy. Executives, sharply dressed in tailored suits, sit around a polished conference table, their faces grim. Papers and financial reports are scattered across the surface, each document a reminder of the mounting debts and the precarious state of the business. The discussion has been ongoing for hours, each executive throwing out solutions that seem more like temporary fixes than permanent solutions. They talk in circles, frustration and desperation hanging heavy in the air. At the head of the room stands the CEO, a seasoned businessman used to making high-stakes decisions. But today, he seems weighed down, his usual confidence shaken by the impending doom of the company. And yet, in the midst of all this corporate chaos, there is an unexpected presence. A young boy, no older than 12, standing tall before the group of seasoned professionals. His name is Malik. Dressed in a checkered shirt and khakis, Malik doesn't look like someone who belongs in such a high-pressure setting. But despite his youth, he exudes an aura of confidence that catches the attention of the room. His posture is straight, his gaze unwavering as he holds a stack of documents in his hands, each sheet brimming with carefully considered insights. As Malik steps forward, there is a momentary silence as the executives exchange glances, trying to make sense of his presence. Malik isn't here to play. He's here to present a plan that he believes could change the course of the company's future. He may be young, but his understanding of business and finance surpasses that of many in the room. He's already done the research, analyzed the market trends, and crafted a strategy that could turn this failing company around. His small frame might suggest vulnerability, but his words are poised, and his confidence cuts through the tension in the room like a sharp blade. The CEO, a man in his late 40s with a reputation for being a tough decision-maker, looks Malik over. There's a moment of hesitation in his eyes as he recalls how the young boy's involvement was initially dismissed. But as Malik begins to speak, the skepticism in the room starts to fade, replaced by curiosity. The executives, who have spent hours tossing around ideas, now lean in, listening intently as Malik lays out his vision. "Gentlemen," Malik starts, his voice steady and clear. "I know you've been struggling to keep the company afloat. I know it's been tough, and the numbers don't look good. But I've been looking at the data, and I believe there's a way out." He flips through the documents in his hands, presenting a carefully prepared proposal. "This is a market analysis I put together. The consumer behavior, the emerging trends, the competitors, everything is laid out here. If we pivot our approach and shift our focus to these untapped areas, we could not only survive, but thrive." The room grows quiet as Malik continues to explain his plan, detailing how he would restructure the company's operations, target new markets, and streamline costs without sacrificing the core values that made the company great in the first place. Each word he speaks is backed by data, facts, and projections that make the executives sit up straighter, eyes widening in disbelief. This is no ordinary presentation. This is a comprehensive, actionable strategy put together by a 12-year-old boy who sees opportunities where others see only obstacles. The CEO watches Malik, his initial skepticism giving way to something else: respect. He had underestimated the boy, but now he sees Malik's potential, and the plan he's presenting seems not only plausible, but innovative. The executives around the table exchange glances, each one beginning to realize that they've been too focused on traditional solutions, while Malik, from an outsider's perspective, has brought fresh eyes to the problem. Malik pauses for a moment, allowing the weight of his words to sink in. "This company has a future," he says simply, his gaze unwavering. "But it's going to require a new way of thinking." The room is silent for a few beats, the only sound being the soft hum of the fluorescent lights above. The CEO takes a deep breath, and finally he nods. "We'll give it a shot," he says. And with that, Malik's plan, devised by a young boy who had been dismissed by society at large, becomes the key to the company's survival. The executives look at each other, nodding in agreement, their earlier doubts now replaced by a shared sense of hope. Malik has proven that brilliance doesn't always come in the form expected, and sometimes the person with the most innovative solutions is the one who is least likely to be taken seriously. As Malik leaves the room, the executives remain seated, contemplating the new path that lies ahead. This moment, marked by Malik's courage, intelligence, and determination, has set the stage for a transformation, both for the company and for the way the world perceives him. The company had once been a giant in the industry, a staple name that many looked to for guidance. But in recent months, its once impressive stock prices had been in freefall. What had once seemed like a period of growth now felt like a distant memory. Investors were nervous, and creditors were knocking at the door, demanding answers. Bankruptcy loomed like a dark cloud on the horizon, a threat that became more tangible with each passing day. The executives gathered in the boardroom could feel the weight of the impending collapse. The company's legacy seemed to be crumbling, and the solutions they had relied on for years were no longer enough to save them. At the head of the table sat the CEO, a man with decades of experience in business. He had been at the helm during the times of success and had led the company through various challenges. But this was different. This time, despite his expertise, the company was slipping through his fingers. He was used to overseeing multi-million-dollar decisions, but now nothing seemed to be working. Traditional business strategies, those that had once propelled them to the top, were failing. Desperation had started to creep into his demeanor, and with it, doubt. The CEO wasn't sure which direction to take anymore, and every decision seemed to bring more uncertainty. His faith in the methods that had served him well for years was waning, but his skepticism toward any untested solutions made it difficult for him to open his mind to new ideas. The seasoned executives around him were just as trapped in their own thinking. They had decades of combined experience, but that experience seemed disconnected from the realities of the modern world. They were entrenched in old ways of doing business, unable or unwilling to adapt to the fast-changing landscape of the industry. There was an unspoken tension in the room, a sense of failure hanging in the air that none of them knew how to overcome. In the midst of the stress and uncertainty, Malik, only 12 years old, had been quietly observing. As the child of 2 employees of the company, he had witnessed the company's decline from the sidelines. While many of the adults in the company were consumed by the pressure, Malik found himself fascinated by the financial troubles, paying attention to the way the numbers on spreadsheets told a story. He didn't fully understand all of it, but he grasped enough to know something was wrong. What he did understand was business. While his peers spent their time playing video games or worrying about school, Malik spent hours at home reading financial books and business articles, trying to absorb as much as he could about how companies succeeded and failed. He had learned that innovation and adaptability were at the core of business growth, and he believed that the company's old methods weren't enough to keep it afloat anymore. Malik had no formal training, no business degree, and certainly no place in the high-stakes decisions being made at the board level. But that didn't stop him. With a clear mind and a strong sense of curiosity, he began formulating a plan, one that combined modern business practices with tried-and-true financial strategies. He spent days working on his idea, sketching out a proposal that, in his mind, would save the company. He had no expectation of it going anywhere. He was just a kid, after all. But Malik didn't let that stop him. His belief in the power of fresh perspectives and his determination to make a difference pushed him to finish what he started. One evening, after his parents had returned home from their tiring work shifts at the company, Malik approached them with a request. He wanted to present his ideas to the executives. Though initially skeptical, his parents, recognizing Malik's passion and understanding, agreed to help him put together a presentation. And so, with their support, Malik carefully refined his plan, gathering the necessary documents, figures, and projections that he thought would catch the attention of the top executives. Malik had a clear vision in mind. He understood that the company's struggles stemmed not only from financial mismanagement, but also from an unwillingness to adapt to the changing world around them. In a world where innovation and agility mattered more than ever, Malik believed the company's rigid, outdated methods were its downfall. His proposal would not just address the financial crises, it would transform the company's business model to be more responsive to market demands and technological advancements. Malik had no idea that his youth would be his greatest obstacle in presenting this plan. But what he did know was that something needed to change, and he was determined to be the catalyst for that change, no matter how unlikely the source seemed. As Malik walked into that prestigious boardroom, he wasn't intimidated by the suits or the grave faces staring back at him. He was there with a purpose, prepared to prove that even someone so young could see the solutions that had eluded the professionals. The future of the company, its survival and its growth, could rest on the idea of a 12-year-old boy who had the courage to step forward when the adults in the room were paralyzed by doubt. Malik walked into the boardroom with the confidence of someone far beyond his years. Holding a stack of documents in his hands, he felt the weight of the moment, but his determination was stronger. The room full of executives, already uneasy about the company's financial troubles, fell silent as he approached the table. The polished wood, the expensive suits, and the serious faces were all intimidating. But Malik stood tall, unshaken. His briefcase was neatly organized, each document in place, and he took a deep breath before addressing the room. As he began to speak, his voice was steady and clear, though his words carried the authority of someone who had studied business for years, not just months. The room was skeptical at first. What could a 12-year-old know about high-stakes corporate strategy, let alone help with the financial mess this company had gotten itself into? But as Malik spoke, detailing his idea, his logic and approach were undeniable. He started with the company's biggest problem, the rapid decline in profits. But Malik didn't just restate what everyone already knew. Instead, he pulled up graphs, figures, and data points on his tablet, showing trends in the market that the company had missed. He spoke about leveraging modern tools like data analytics and predictive modeling to get ahead of market shifts, using methods that most of the executives hadn't even heard of. His research was solid, and his understanding of the business world was sharper than anyone expected. First, we need to understand that we've been reacting, not predicting, Malik began, his eyes scanning the room. We have the data, but we've been too slow to use it effectively. He continued, explaining his plan step by step. reworking the company's outdated supply chain to make it more agile, exploring untapped digital markets, and developing partnerships with startups that had innovative products, ideas, and energy. He laid out projections that illustrated how the company could stabilize financially within the next 6 months with a few key changes. What really stood out was Malik's ability to see beyond the traditional frameworks that had failed the company. He wasn't afraid to suggest bold moves, such as taking calculated risks by entering new unconventional markets. His understanding of not just numbers, but the future of business was shocking. He combined both analytical thinking and creative strategy, demonstrating that success in today's fast-paced world relied on agility, innovation, and adaptability. At first, the executives exchanged looks of disbelief. Some were outright dismissive, unsure whether to take this child seriously. They had built their careers on more conventional methods, and here was a kid telling them that they were outdated. But as Malik continued to lay out his case, something began to shift in the room. The data was hard to ignore, and his arguments, though wrapped in the voice of a 12-year-old, carried the clarity and precision of a seasoned strategist. The CEO, who had been watching with increasing interest, began to shift in his seat. He had come into the meeting with a mindset on hearing the same tired suggestions from his team. He'd been convinced that the usual corporate approaches, cutbacks, layoffs, and quick fixes were the only way out of the mess the company was in. But Malik was different. As the CEO listened, a realization began to settle in. This child had uncovered a strategy that was more effective, more forward-thinking, and more grounded in the real issues at hand than anything his senior executives had proposed. By the time Malik finished, the room was quiet. The executives, though still skeptical, could not deny the brilliance of his idea. Malik wasn't just a boy in a room full of adults. He had just presented a comprehensive, actionable business plan that could potentially save the company. His youth made it even more profound. It was a gut punch to the pride of those who had dismissed him, and a wake-up call to the entire room. The CEO leaned forward, his mind racing as he thought about how to implement parts of Malik's proposal immediately. "I have to admit, I didn't expect this," he finally said, his voice laced with both respect and surprise. "Malik, you've given us something we can work with here." Malik, unfazed, simply nodded. "I'm happy to help," he said, his voice filled with humility. But beneath his calm exterior was the quiet thrill of knowing that his ideas had made an impact, a profound impact that could turn around the entire company. The room remained silent for a moment, allowing the weight of what had just happened to settle. There was no mistaking it. Malik had earned his place at the table. He had shown not just the executives, but also himself, that age and background were no match for raw talent, hard work, and fresh thinking. At that moment, the CEO turned to the room and said, "We've been looking at the wrong solutions. Let's start looking at this kid's plan. Let's see where it takes us." The tension in the room had shifted. The skepticism had melted away. For the first time in a long while, the company had hope, and it came from the most unexpected of sources. As the story unfolds, tell us, where are you watching from, and what time is it? The meeting room fell into a deep silence after Malik's presentation. The executives, who had once regarded him with the patronizing patience reserved for children, were now quiet, each one processing the revolutionary ideas that had just been laid out in front of them. Their initial skepticism had transformed into admiration, though they tried to hide it behind their professional facades. Malik's calm and collected manner had completely shifted their perspective. The room was charged with a sense of awe as the implications of his plan began to sink in. Malik's youth, once the reason for doubt, no longer seemed to matter. His brilliance was undeniable, and the fact that he was only 12 years old only made his proposal that much more remarkable. He had shown that business acumen wasn't about age or years of experience. It was about vision, understanding, and the courage to challenge the status quo. The CEO, a man who had spent decades in the business world, leaned back in his chair, the weight of what he had just heard settling in. The skepticism that had marked his initial response to Malik's entrance had all but vanished. In its place was a look of surprise and admiration. He was stunned by the clarity and sophistication of the plan, and the realization hit him hard. "Who is he?" the CEO muttered under his breath, so softly that it was barely audible. His words hung in the air, and for a moment no one dared to speak. The room was heavy with the realization of just how much Malik had impacted the future of the company. The executives exchanged glances, each processing the gravity of the moment. It was clear that Malik's proposal had just shifted the company's trajectory from the edge of bankruptcy to a new opportunity for growth. His boldness and insight had illuminated a path that had eluded the seasoned professionals in the room for months. The shift in perception was palpable. What was once an impromptu pitch from a child now looked like the cornerstone of a financial turnaround. The young boy had just saved the company. There was no denying that. And as the CEO looked around the room, his gaze moved from one stunned executive to another, all of them now realizing what they had witnessed. A brilliant mind, regardless of age, that had offered a solution they couldn't have dreamed of. The company was on the brink of collapse, but Malik's clarity had shown them that there was a way forward. The CEO's realization was profound. It was more than just an appreciation of a good idea. It was a recognition that talent doesn't come with age, social status, or a prestigious education. Talent is born of vision, of seeing what others do not, and acting on it. And that's exactly what Malik had done. He had seen an opportunity to use data and strategy in ways that no one had considered, and his courage to act on it was what made his solution so powerful. He was a young boy, but in that moment, he was also a business prodigy, one who had turned the tables and shown everyone in that room that true innovation doesn't care about the limits we impose on ourselves or others. The CEO straightened up in his chair, finally looking directly at Malik, a new respect in his eyes. "I don't think I've ever been more impressed in my career," the CEO admitted, his voice filled with both awe and gratitude. "You've just saved this company, and in doing so you've proven that true leadership comes from within, no matter your age or background." Malik, though humble, allowed himself a small smile. His hard work, dedication, and belief in the potential of his ideas had been validated in the best possible way. He hadn't just proven something to the CEO or the executives. He had proven it to himself. The room was no longer the same. It was no longer a place where ideas were measured by the years of experience behind them. It was a place where innovation, vision, and courage were the true measures of value. The executives, who had once viewed him as nothing more than a child, now recognized him as an equal, someone whose ideas had the potential to change the world. As the CEO addressed the room, his voice was steady, but filled with a new determination. "We have a chance to turn this around. Let's not waste it. Malik, thank you for opening our eyes." And with those words, Malik's journey from overlooked child to the company's youngest and most valued strategist began. Have you ever had a moment where your voice made a difference? Share your story in the comments. We love hearing how people like you change the game. Don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring content. By the end of the meeting, Malik's proposal had not only been accepted, but was set into motion, with the company's future now seemingly brighter thanks to the young boy's remarkable idea. The board members, who had initially been skeptical of his involvement, were now eager to implement the strategy. The sense of renewed hope in the room was palpable as they began discussing next steps, with everyone visibly relieved by the change in momentum Malik had brought about. The CEO, who had spent much of the meeting grappling with his own doubts about the unconventional source of the idea, now stood in awe of Malik's brilliance. His skepticism had been completely swept away by the confidence and depth of Malik's plan. As the final details of the strategy were being discussed, the CEO turned to Malik with a newfound respect in his eyes. "Malik, what you've done here today is beyond impressive," the CEO said, his voice filled with admiration. "You've not only saved this company, but you've also demonstrated the kind of leadership this company needs moving forward." Malik, still humbled by the praise, gave a small but genuine smile. The room was buzzing with excitement, but Malik stood calmly at the center of it all, the weight of the moment sinking in. For the first time, he was not just a young boy who had been ignored by the world around him. He was now a person whose opinion mattered, whose ideas could shape the future. Because of your quick thinking and your ability to stay calm under pressure, I'm offering you something I don't give to just anyone," the CEO continued, pausing for effect. "I want to mentor you, Malik. I want you to work closely with me and my top executives. You've proven you have what it takes, and I believe we can work together to take this company to even greater heights." Malik's heart raced with excitement, but he remained composed. This offer wasn't just about saving the company. It was about being given a chance to shape his own future, to be a part of something bigger than himself. For years, he had been dismissed by society, ignored and underestimated because of his age, background, and circumstances. But in that room, at that moment, he was seen for who he truly was, a brilliant mind with the potential to change the world. The board members, now fully on board with Malik's strategy, began discussing how they would implement it. They were energized by the potential of the new plan, and Malik's role in that plan had already been solidified. The idea of having a young person like Malik work alongside seasoned executives was not only a bold decision, but also a reflection of the company's new direction, one where talent was valued over appearances and where fresh perspectives were welcomed. For Malik, this moment marked the turning point in his life. The boy, who had once been overlooked, was now being offered a seat at the table of some of the most influential business minds. His future had just opened up in a way he had never imagined. The CEO had recognized his potential, and now he had the opportunity to prove that his ideas and vision were more than just a fleeting spark. They were the foundation of something much greater. As the meeting concluded and the executives began to disperse, the CEO placed a hand on Malik's shoulder and said, "We're lucky to have you, Malik. I look forward to seeing what you'll do next." Walking out of the room, Malik felt a sense of purpose and pride that he had never known before. He wasn't just another statistic or a person left behind by the system. He was someone who had made a real difference, and now he had the chance to build a future that was entirely his own. this was only the beginning for Malik, and the journey ahead was filled with endless possibilities. In the end, Malik's brilliance wasn't just a solution to the company's financial woes. It was the key to unlocking his own future, a future where he was no longer overlooked but recognized for the incredible potential he had all along. Malik's impact on the company and the world around him was nothing short of transformative. His bravery in standing up with his innovative ideas and his intelligence had sparked not only a revolution within the corporate walls, but also a shift in how people saw him and others like him. What began as a simple attempt to help the company avoid financial collapse had evolved into a powerful reminder of the incredible potential that can come from anyone, regardless of their background, age, or appearance. The company, which had been on the verge of ruin, was now facing a new era. Thanks to Malik's unique vision and business acumen, the executives, once skeptical and dismissive of new ideas, were now eager to follow his lead. The previously outdated strategies were being replaced with modern approaches, all based on Malik's creativity and deep understanding of what was needed to make the company thrive. He had shown them the way forward, and his ideas became the roadmap for the company's future. The CEO, a man who had spent decades in the business world, had his perspective changed in that meeting. The young boy, whom he had initially dismissed, was now the key to the company's survival and growth. What once seemed impossible, bringing a fresh voice into the decision-making process, was now a reality, all because Malik's voice had been heard and respected. This shift in the CEO's thinking was more than just about business. It was a reflection of a greater understanding of the value of diversity, creativity, and the importance of listening to voices from every corner of society. Malik's influence had already reached beyond the boardroom. The executives who had previously looked past him now saw him as a leader, someone whose ideas were worth listening to, no matter how young he was. His brilliance had not only changed the trajectory of the company, but also changed the way others saw him. Where they had once seen a young boy who was out of place, they now saw a person with vision, wisdom, and the capability to lead. For Malik, the journey was only just beginning. The opportunity that had opened up before him was vast, and the potential was limitless. The mentorship and guidance from the CEO and other top executives would give him the platform to grow and develop his skills. What began as a chance to help the company had now become an invitation to a future of opportunities, an opportunity that was no longer just a dream, but a reality. Malik's story is a powerful reminder that brilliance and leadership are not defined by age, background, or appearance. True brilliance comes from creativity, courage, and the willingness to challenge the status quo. It is about having the vision to see opportunities where others see obstacles, and the determination to bring those ideas to life. Malik's courage to speak up, to offer a solution when no one else had one, and his belief in himself and his ideas were the catalysts that changed everything, not just for the company, but for his own life as well. This story proves that the future is full of potential, no matter where you come from or how old you are. Every generation brings its own unique contributions, and the voices that often go unheard can be the ones that lead us into the future. All it takes is one person, one idea, and the willingness to challenge the norms. A single act of courage can reshape the course of history. If you believe in the power of fresh perspectives and young talent, hit that like button. Don't forget to share this story with someone who needs a reminder that innovation knows no age.